Hey, how are you doing? In today's video, I want to talk to you about God is giving you one last chance. What does the Bible say about second chances? You know, I've been sitting with people in my office for over 30 years, and I've seen something that breaks my heart every single time. There's a moment that comes for most of us. A moment where we realize we've used up our chances, we've pushed too hard, we've lied one too many times. We've broken a promise we swore we'd never break, and we think to ourselves, that's it. I'm done. God's done with me. The people I love are done with me. There's no coming back from this. You're lying in bed at 3 in the morning. Your spouse is sleeping on the other side of the room. Not even angry anymore. Just quiet, empty. And you realize the silence is worse than any argument ever was. Because silence means they've stopped hoping. They've stopped believing you'll change. And somewhere in that darkness you think, maybe they're right. Maybe I am too far gone. Maybe there's no such thing as one more chance. Maybe this is just how it ends. Your kids won't look you in the eye anymore. Not because they're mad, but because they don't recognize you. The promises you made them feel like lies now. And the worst part, you made those same promises before. You meant them then too. So now they're protecting themselves, building walls so high that even if you wanted to climb over them, you couldn't reach them anymore. And at work, everyone knows. The mistakes, the failure, the collapse. You walk into that room and you see it in their faces. Disappointment, doubt, pity. And you think, this is my life now? This is who I am. There's no reset button. There's no way to erase what I've done. So why even try? If you're looking for hope in a moment that feels completely hopeless, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what we're about to talk about could change everything. Here's what I want you to understand in the next 20 minutes. I'm going to show you what the Bible actually says about second chances. Not the watered-down version you've heard in church that made you feel worse, but the real, raw truth that's buried in Scripture. The truth about a God who doesn't work on our timing, who doesn't give up when we do. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to step back into your life when you've convinced yourself you can't. Because here's the thing. When hope dies, everything else dies with it. And when hope dies, there's no coming back. But to understand how this all started, I need to take you back to the moment everything felt possible. And on that day, everything seemed perfectly normal. You remember that feeling, don't you? When you were younger, when you believed you could do anything, when failure wasn't even in your vocabulary because you hadn't experienced it yet. You had dreams, real dreams, not the small safe ones you have now, but wild, impossible dreams that made your heart race when you thought about them. Maybe you wanted to be a musician, or a writer, or a parent who would never make the mistakes your own parents made. You wanted to build something, create something, be someone your kids could look up to, someone your spouse would be proud of, someone who mattered. And for a while, it felt like it was actually happening. You were making progress. You were keeping your promises. You were showing up. And the people around you believed in you. They truly did. Your wife smiled at you like she meant it. Your kids ran to the door when you came home. Your friends wanted to spend time with you. You felt worthy. You felt capable. You felt like maybe, just maybe, you were going to pull this off. But something was building underneath. You didn't see it then. None of us do. That first compromise was so small, so reasonable. It didn't feel like a choice at all. It felt like necessity, like everyone else was doing it, like it was just how the world worked. So you took it, and nothing happened. No lightning bolt, no immediate consequence. So you took another step, and another. The lies started small too. A white lie here. A truth you left out there. You told yourself you were protecting people. You were being kind. You were avoiding drama. But every lie needed a second lie to cover it. And soon, you were spending more energy keeping track of what you said to who than you were on anything else. And the worst part was knowing. Deep down, knowing that you were changing into someone you didn't recognize. Then came the moment of no return. You can probably see it clearly now. The day you did the thing you said you'd never do. The thing that crossed the line you thought was sacred. And maybe nobody found out right away. But you knew. Your body knew. You couldn't sleep. Your appetite changed. You felt your chest tighten when your phone rang because you were terrified it was someone calling to tell you they knew. And the voice in your head got louder. The voice that kept saying, "You're a fraud. You're a liar. You're exactly what you promised you'd never be." And then they found out. Or maybe you finally told them. And it was worse than you imagined. Because the disappointment in their eyes wasn't anger. It was grief. It was the moment they realized the person they believed in didn't actually exist. And you saw the exact moment their hope died. You saw it happen in real time. What I've learned in 3 decades of counseling is this. The event itself isn't the scar. The event cracks the foundation. But the real damage happens in the silence after. It's the isolation. It's waking up and remembering what you did before your eyes are even fully open. It's the weight of knowing you can't undo it. It's the conversations you have with yourself where you convince yourself that you're unfixable, that you've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're selfish, that you're weak, that you're a disappointment to everyone who ever believed in you. And the loneliness of that place is unimaginable, because you can't talk to anyone about it. Your family's already hurt. Your friends would judge you. Your church would shake their heads. So you carry it alone. You wear the mask to work. You pretend everything's fine at the grocery store. But inside, you're screaming. Inside, you're dying a little bit more every single day. If you've ever felt that kind of weight, that kind of shame, leave a comment down below. I read every single one. I see you. And I need you to know that what we're about to talk about is exactly for you. Now, there's a man in the Bible I want to introduce you to. His name is Peter. And I'm not talking about the Peter you think you know, the strong one, the rock of the church. I want to talk about the Peter who completely fell apart, because that's the real story. That's the story that actually matters. Peter had been with Jesus for 3 years. 3 years of miracles. 3 years of watching the impossible become possible. 3 years of believing that this man was actually God's son. And Jesus looked at Peter one day and said, "You're going to be the foundation of my church. You're going to be a rock. You're going to be unshakable." And Peter believed it. He actually believed it. Can you imagine? To have the Son of God look you in the eye and tell you that you're capable of something incredible, that you're chosen, that you're important, that God sees something in you that even you don't see in yourself yet. Peter walked around with that knowledge burning in his chest. He was going to change the world. He was going to be faithful. He was going to be the one who never wavered. Then came the night that changed everything. Jesus was arrested. And suddenly, everything Peter believed was being ripped away. The man he'd followed was being dragged away. And Peter did what he thought he'd never do. He denied even knowing Jesus. Not once. 3 times. 3 times he looked someone in the eye and said, "I don't know him. I've never heard of him. Leave me alone." And the moment after he said it the 3rd time, Jesus looked at him from across the courtyard. Their eyes met. And Peter realized what he'd done. He'd made the exact promise he swore he'd never break. And the weight of that crashed into him like nothing he'd ever felt. The Bible says Peter went outside and wept bitterly. Not just regular tears, bitter tears, the kind that come from the deepest part of your soul. Peter spent the next 3 days thinking he was finished, done, useless. The one guy Jesus had chosen to be the rock was actually sand. He'd crumbled. He'd failed in the moment that mattered most. And he probably sat there in that darkness thinking, how could I do that? How could I be so weak? After everything Jesus taught me, after everything he showed me, I still fell apart. I still betrayed him. Peter's shame was so deep that when the women came and told him Jesus had risen from the dead, he didn't believe it. He couldn't, because in his mind, there was no coming back from what he'd done. He'd failed too spectacularly. He'd broken his promise too completely. There was no fixing it. And that's where Peter was, absolutely convinced that his story was over. But here's what God did. Jesus didn't go to Peter with judgment. He didn't go to him with a list of failures. He went to him with a question. He asked Peter, "Do you love me?" And Peter had to sit with that, because the issue wasn't whether Jesus could forgive him. The issue was whether Peter could believe he was still worth loving. That's the question that breaks us, not God's forgiveness, our own capacity to accept it. And Jesus asked him again, "Do you love me?" And again, "Do you love me?" 3 times. Once for each time Peter had denied him. And what God was doing in those moments was reframing the entire story. He wasn't erasing what happened. He wasn't pretending it didn't matter. But he was saying, that moment doesn't define you. That moment isn't the end of your story. You still get to choose who you become next. And Peter did. He got to become the rock after all. Not because he was perfect, but because he understood what grace actually felt like. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've spent 30 years helping people navigate this exact moment. And there's a path through it. It's not easy, it's not quick, but it's real, and it works. First, you have to stop hiding. This is the hardest part, because the shame tells you to stay in the dark. The shame tells you that exposure means destruction. But I've seen it over and over. Exposure is actually where healing begins. You have to tell someone, not the whole world, but someone. Your spouse, a counselor, a pastor you trust, someone who loves you anyway. Because shame thrives in darkness. The moment you speak it out loud, the moment you say the words instead of just thinking them, something shifts. The shame loses its power. It becomes manageable. Second, you have to grieve what you've lost. And I mean really grieve it. Not just push past it. The trust is broken. The innocence is gone. The version of yourself that you thought you were doesn't exist anymore. You have to sit with that loss. You have to acknowledge it. Because if you don't grieve it, you'll spend the rest of your life trying to get back to something that's gone. And that will destroy you slowly. But if you grieve it, you can actually move forward. Third, you have to understand that actions are the only language trust speaks. Words don't matter anymore. You've already used your words up. But actions are what rebuild. And I'm not talking about grand gestures. I'm talking about showing up, doing what you say you're gonna do, being honest when honesty is inconvenient, being faithful in the small moments when nobody's watching. This is where you become the rock. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. Fourth, and this is crucial, you have to forgive yourself. I know that sounds simple, but it's the hardest step, because your family might forgive you. God definitely forgives you. But you're sitting there judging yourself with a harshness that nobody else would ever use. You're holding yourself to a standard that's designed to break you, and you have to let that go. Not because what you did was okay, but because you can't build a new life on a foundation of self-hatred. It's impossible. You'll sabotage everything good that comes your way because part of you believes you don't deserve it. And finally, you have to step back into your life. Not with confidence. Confidence is earned. But with hope. Hope is a choice. It's saying yes to the possibility that things can be different. That you can be different. That even though you've fallen, you don't have to stay on the ground. My wife and I have been married 40 years. And I'll tell you something that nobody talks about. We've been to places in our marriage where I genuinely wondered if we could come back, where the hurt was so deep that I couldn't see a way forward. But we did. We came back. And you know what I learned? The couples that make it aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who keep choosing each other even after they fall, who decide that the relationship is worth the work of rebuilding, who understand that second chances aren't about forgetting what happened. They're about deciding that love is bigger than the mistake. And that's what God's offering you right now. Not an eraser, not a way to pretend it never happened, but a second chance to write the rest of your story differently. Peter got to be the rock, but he had to choose it. He had to do the work. He had to show up day after day and prove that he was serious about change. So here's where we are. You came into this video feeling like you were out of chances, feeling like you'd blown it so completely that there was no coming back. And I'm here to tell you that the Bible is full of stories about people who felt exactly like you do right now. People who thought their story was over. And God kept writing anyway. Your story isn't over. The ending hasn't been written yet. You're not defined by the worst thing you've ever done. You're defined by what you do next, by the choice you make today, by the commitment you make to become someone different tomorrow. That second chance that feels impossible? It's real, it's available, and it's waiting for you to be brave enough to take it. I want you to do something for me. I want you to like this video. I want you to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next conversation we have. And I want you to leave a comment with one word that describes how you felt at the rock bottom moment. Just one word. So I know you're here. So I know you're serious about change. Because you're not alone in this. There are thousands of people watching this right now who understand exactly where you are. And we're all climbing out together.